guys. We're going to cover a bunch of different topics this evening. And of course, the first thing that's on everybody's mind that we get tons of questions about, COVID-19, right? The virus is out there. And, there's some problem spots in the country. There's some problem spots around the world. If you really look at it, there's some places where it's not, people aren't doing so well. But that doesn't affect the industry on whole, and it doesn't affect all of us. Certainly when we look at this marketplace, right, where we're selling digital advertising services, we're total solutions providers for businesses. Businesses aren't going to all go out of business, right? A lot of businesses are going to cut much, much more expensive local agencies and are going to go shopping because the need hasn't gone away. They still need to compete and win online. However, online is now not what it was 5 or 10 years ago, right? 5 or 10 years ago, online meant something completely different to businesses. It was generally not a local street fight between two attorneys in a city somewhere fighting online. It was regional contenders. Now it's everybody is online. And we're going to see this trend just pick up and continue into this recovery as COVID-19, as we see treatments get out there. And long term, I guess, as they come up with a vaccine, we're going to see that as well. But the economy certainly, I don't know how many weeks away it is from being generally opened, but we're definitely a lot closer there now than we were, 6 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago before we knew what we were dealing with. Now, when we're looking at it, you're seeing tons and tons and tons of businesses that are continuing to compete online. And in fact, being online is keeping businesses going in many cases. So you have many businesses that are out there that are still looking for leads, that are still looking for sales, that are still needing to rank, that are still needing websites. They understand the concept of digital real estate very well. They're going to keep their digital real estate. They're not going anywhere. And that's really what I wanted to talk to you guys about, is kind of the basic preparation of your business. Because one of the more fundamental problems that people have, I've seen this myself many times, has been, just not having the right perspective and the right setup at your business to be able to capitalize upon it. I mean, if I came to all of you with a sale right now, like say I had a guy standing here next to me, I don't, but if I did, and he was a guy and he had, $5,000 a month budget for SEO, and he wanted to buy, how many of you could process his order in 15 minutes? How many of you, if I brought you a sale, a complete laydown, I want to buy sale, are set up with your payment processor, are set up with all your products set up inside there so that you can do recurring billing really easily? Have you gone through and taken a look at, for example, the SEO proposal contract, right? Have you gone through this and rebranded this and gotten this ready for you to go and make sales? These fundamental little things, they seem like last minute thoughts to a lot of people. And I don't think you guys can see my screen. So let me just do this. I'm going to try to share my screen here. And let's see, I'm going to share the application window. SEO proposal contract. Okay, you guys should be able to see this now. And, this is the rebrandable contract. It's right there. It's right inside the Rocket Driver portal. You simply go to the knowledge base, do a search. And I mean, I can switch to show you guys, but the point is you can take this contract, right? Which I'll drop a link for everybody on here. This is a contract you can take and you can rebrand. Every one of you should have gone through and rebranded this thing. It should have your phone number in it, your email address, your name, your business name, et cetera, within it. And it should be tuned up to be used for you. If you're serious about having a contract at the ready, and again, you'll want this to be looked at by a proper legal authority. Of course, jurisdictions vary. I'm not a lawyer. I can't speak legally authoritatively as to the veracity of this document and whether it would be contractually, legally binding in your jurisdiction. However, it's a really good basis of a contract, right? It's a very sound foundation. You should have this ready, right? You could change, of course, the budget. You're going to put in here, this is 10 hours. It's in here. It's defaulted, but it might be 20, it might be 30, it might be whatever. The point is you put it all inside here and you've got yourself a nice, neat little contract, and you can work out how long you want it to be. And you can work out all the different little, various exclusions and clauses that you want to incorporate into the contract, how long you want it to be and everything like that. Very straightforward. Something that I think absolutely everybody needs to have at the ready. Now, let me see here. You guys should see this now, and it should be Marketing Land. And I'm going to send you guys a link here as well, so you can grab this link and check it out yourself. What these are 10 different payment processing companies, the 10 biggest in the world. Now, I know most all of you understand we have a kind of a special relationship with First Data, right? We've worked with them for many, many years. They're a great payment processor. They're actually a processor that's used by some incredibly big entities, and they're very trustworthy and they're very reliable. And I can speak very highly of First Data, and not just First Data, but the people of First Data that we've dealt with, that we've had interactions with for many years. Some of them we even consider to be friends. But the point is, you guys are all running independent businesses. Each and every one of you is responsible for being able to process payments yourself. If for whatever reason, could be your issues with your credit rating, could be all kinds of nonsense. If First Data or any processor ever gives you trouble, or you have a hassle or something like that, you are under no obligation to work with that processor whatsoever. You are under not an obligation, but you certainly owe it to yourself to have a processor handy at any given time to be able to bill your clients. If your answer is, well, I'm waiting on First Data, or I'm waiting on PayPal, or I'm waiting on Stripe, or I'm waiting on whoever, right, to be able to bill clients, well, you can't wait. You literally can't afford to ever be without a processor. Just about every business that I know of has multiple processors. And the reason for that is pretty simple. It's not because they're, pulling a shady deal or something like that. It's mainly because there are situations under which, you might be billing 30 clients. And those 30 clients, that's 30 bills a month going out. And say that there's some kind of conflict or some minor bug or problem. You could have a situation where you can't use that account for 6 or 7 days. Let's say you rely on a Stripe account and you're doing all your processing with Stripe, all 30, 40, 50 clients worth every month. And all of a sudden you go, oh, well, we're going to be delayed by 7 days. Well, that's 7 days delayed in getting paid. That can lead to all kinds of chaos and nonsense. So what you need to be able to do, if you're smart, is you have multiple accounts ready. And if there's an issue this month with Stripe, well, you could just jump on over to whoever else. First Data, jump to authorize.net, with First Data, go over to whoever and use them to do your processing. So I encourage everybody here on this webinar and everybody in this industry, in fact, to make sure that you always have multiple processors at your disposal. There's no reason not to. There are many good ones out there. You're free to pick, 1, 5, 10, whatever, however many you want. And of course, you have different deals with different processors. Some processors have, better credit arrangements than others. Some have different arrangements in terms of what you get to be able to check people out. There's different tools involved, different packages, and different plans. Generally, you shouldn't be paying anything. Generally, it's not like you pay money every month to be able to bill your clients. It's something where they want to work with you because you're making sales and you're making them money. Now, moving forward here, I want to hop ahead a couple slides and move on from talking about processing to talking about, some sales prep 101 stuff, some basic stuff. Now, obviously, I just talked to you guys about the whole importance of having a processor and being able to check people out. That's absolutely day one, act one, round one stuff. If you're not set up to be able to bill somebody, how do you expect to make a sale? You're never going to make a sale, right? You can't, because you can't bill anybody. You have to be ready at all times. It's almost like your processor is like your gun in your holster, right? That's what you pull out to bill people with. Got to have it. Got to be at the ready there. The next thing that's really important, guys, is self-training. Going through the training materials that you have at your disposal. All of you have access to a wealth of training materials. Some of you, maybe you're still selling websites. If that's the case, you still have a huge amount of material for selling sites. Those of you who are in Rocket Driver 3.0 and you've got access to everything, you have a huge amount of resources on a number of services. And you really, all of you owe it to yourselves to go in there and to go through all that training material as thoroughly as possible. Take the time. If things are slowing down right now in your life and, you find yourself with a lot more time to work on your business, take the time and do some self-training. Educate yourself. Understand the topics that you're going over. A big problem that I see with people, and I'm going to talk about this tonight, is the perspective that people have is just altogether, it's dysfunctional. A lot of people have a dysfunctional perspective when it comes to closing business out. Right? When it comes to selling the service, they understand the theory, they understand maybe the technology, but when it comes to putting those pieces together into a concerted effort of sales and marketing, they're allowing the whole thing to break down. And that's something where, it's just a matter of understanding you're going through a procedure that's very straightforward, right? There's a person over here. That person over here needs this service. You have a service. You need to know how to apply it, how to approach that person. It's not that delicate. It's not that difficult. And when you get it down, you're going to be just fine. And part of that is having your systems in order, having your documents set up, having your contract ready, having your merchant processor ready, just being confident in your own ability to go in and affect business, right? To actually execute business when you get in front of the customer and you're dealing with them and you're having to, go through the whole process. One of the most important things in all of this, right, talking about sales prep, is really the question I get all the time. Am I ready? Do I feel ready? I hear this all the time, guys. When I talk to you and gals, guys and gals, both of you, I talk to you guys all the time and I hear the same thing. Do you think I'm ready, Jake? Do you think I'm ready? Do you think I could sell today? And I'm like, look, a person that's one day out of high school, right, that's 18 years old on their 18th birthday can go and take an order, right, can go in and sell someone something. But being ready, that's something you have to tell me. You have to tell yourself, first of all, before you tell anyone else. But you have to tell yourself that anyone can take an order. Are you ready to run your business? Being ready to run your business is about having all your ducks in a row, not just one of them. You have to have all your ducks in a row because you have to have your perspective straight. And the perspective is really the key to all businesses. I don't care what business you're in the business of transacting. If your perspective's off, you're off. You have to understand, what exactly am I doing here? And thankfully for you guys, this is a pretty simple industry. This is a pretty straightforward industry. We're not, replacing bad teeth. We're not fixing people's cars. We're not building homes. We're not dealing with the law. We're dealing with a very straightforward problem of businesses not ranking online and having poor digital real estate, right? We have all these businesses out there of all different types, selling all different types of things, doing all different types of things. All of them need to be on this digital medium. They all need to be found. They all need to connect with customers. They all need leads and sales. They all need the same thing, right? The problem is that, again, it's a repetitive problem. Again and again and again, we see the same problem. Each and every one of them, they see things as though they're completely unique. So from their perspective, they're looking at you and saying, here's my situation, help me. And they think their situation is unique when it's not unique. The needs they have, the needs we see across all these different businesses, they stay the same. These people are coming to us, they want guidance, right? I have a guy owns a restaurant, doesn't know anything about technology, probably struggles with his iPhone or his Android, right? Struggles with it. Not a computer user, doesn't have a background in programming, right? Didn't graduate from a technical high school or anything like that. Just an average business owner. This business owner is coming to me and they're saying, hey, can you help me? You know about this stuff. I have questions. You have answers. Maybe we can do business. That's basically all you need to know. Because with that in mind, you understand this person knows less than I do, meaning you don't have to be a technical wizard because you have a full company behind you. You don't have, you're not like one guy, one gal sitting there by themselves outsourcing to the, internet using Google as their guide, right? You're not like finding people online to send work to or something crazy like that, right? You guys are working with Rocket Driver. You've got a company here, support department, resources, trainers, everything you need. You even have closers you can bring on to SEO deals. We'll help you every step of the way. That's what our job is. We're there. You're not, alone, out there in the cold. You're out there with your business and you're engaging with a client alone, right? So their situation, really your job, it boils down to be pretty easy. This client needs to make money online. They need to get leads. They need to get sales. Some need the phone to ring. Some need the cash register to ring. Some need leads to come in via email. But they all need something and they all need these basic things. So what you're selling is basically you're a total solutions provider. Whatever their problem is, you're listening, you're gathering information, you're talking to them, you're understanding their situation, and you're just gathering data. That's the way I look at my job as a consultant. My key to this industry, and what that key has always been that I go in with a completely blank slate and I gather information. I ask probing questions. I learn about competitors. I develop in my mind, what could I do for this business? Do they need their website repaired? Do they need to rank online? Do they need both? Do they need those plus reputation? What do they need? What's our ideal here? And then what is our current situation? What are our competitors doing? And what is our ideal? Those three things right there in my head. Our ideal is here on this map. We're here, right? So here's our start point, and then there's where we're going. And then where the competitors are on that map. Where do they reside? All very important points. Now, a lot of people get, I don't even know if you guys get tied up with the idea of consulting so much, right? I don't know that this concept is something that people don't grasp, or if when you get out there in the field, it all just sort of flows out of your head, right? But a lot of people struggle with consulting, and they struggle with the basics of it. And I understand, struggling with business mechanics and with things that can be somewhat complex or take on odd forms in the real world. I understand that. However, when it comes to business consulting, this is very straightforward stuff, right, guys? This is real straightforward. Your job, you got a salesperson, right? This is how I always think about it anyway. You have a salesperson over here, and we have a consultant over there. So on my left is a salesperson, my right is a consultant. What's the difference between the two? Well, consultant asks probing questions, conducts research, and gives me advice, much the way a doctor would, right? Doctor's going to say, well, it seems like you have a broken leg. You need my advice would be to put a splint on it. It's going to cost this much money. We can have it done, and you'll be back and on your feet in 2 weeks, right? There's a consultant, right? A doctor acting as a consultant. The salesperson, on the other hand, just sees broken arms. They just want to jam casts on people. They don't care if the underlying condition is valid or not. You can't approach this just as a salesperson. You are a consultant because you're the primary access point to the service. Right now, when you go to a business and you sit down with that business owner and you start talking to them, and you're talking to them about their website and how it's, it could be messed up and it needs to be rebuilt, or they need SEO, they need to rank. They're going to want to talk to somebody who knows and can consult with them upon what their competitors are doing differently. They're going to want some kind of a circumspect sort of a perspective, right? They want somebody that is looking at the big picture, not just a salesperson trying to jam a service on them continuously, because it's just not going to work. It's not going to work. It's not the best way to approach that. The best way to approach that is doing some research on competitors, looking at what is going to work for this business, what makes sense to sell them, right? If they have a really terrible website, it doesn't make any sense that we get it to rank. We just smear their reputation on the internet, right? It's like if you had a website about your business that made you look terrible, do you want more or less people to see that? Probably less, because we want to fix the site first, step one. Then step two is promote it. We're not going to promote something that's garbage. And what is garbage in the context of a website? Well, that's a good question. And we're going to take a look at exactly what that garbage is in just a moment. So let's take a look at some good and bad websites. And I have several sites open, right? I've got two kind of real garbage sites. These are complete, utter trash. All right. Now, this is like the absolute creme de la creme of trash on the internet. This is stuff I found specialty for you guys just to show you an example of the worst, probably the worst sites I've ever seen. That one there gives me almost an instant migraine headache. And then we've got this one here, which is another absolute gem of the gutter of the web. Okay, so these two sites. Why am I showing you these two sites, right? They're both incredibly cluttered. They have absolutely, I would say horrifically outmoded, almost psychedelic type of, graffiti backgrounds. They're terrible. They're blink a lot. They're not mobile. Neither of these will load on tablets nor phones, nor will they load appropriately on all browsers, even on their desktop PC platforms. I'm showing these to you because these are outliers, right? These are ridiculous examples of sites that are just really badly made. And when we look at a bad site, when I look at this, I want you guys to take something away from it, not to just look at it and say, well, that's ugly. You need to take away from it. What's wrong with it? If you had to technically rip this apart, besides everything being priced in euros, because that's the problem from minute one. But When you look at Ling's cars, you see what's wrong with it. You'll see, it's bad. It's large imagery. It's brash. It's terrible graphics. It's horrible contrast. It's not mobile. It has no modern facilities whatsoever on it. It's just terrible. And the same with this Arngren site, which I've used in the past because this is a legendarily bad site. It's not readable. It's just junk. All right. This, again, is not mobile friendly. It's not smartphone friendly, not tablet friendly. It's just nothing about it. I would bet my life on the fact it's not loading off of a proper CDN. So it's, going to load slowly for some of you and fast for others. It's completely screwed up as a site gets. Then I've grabbed a couple sites just as examples that are not screwed up, right? Because this is all part of consulting, guys, right? Being able to look at a site and say, okay, that thing is screwed up because the graphics are completely screwed up. The navigation's difficult. Everything about it is just buried and nested and put together like it was the best of 2003 or something like that, right? So it's, this is like a 20-year-old design. It's still online. So let's take a look at Annika Biosciences. This is an example of properly constructed website, right? This is a site that it's not only graphically appealing, because that's part of it being clean and, having a decent design. But if you were to take this site, and I'll give you guys the link, right? So you can check it out yourself. You can load this site up on your smartphone, or you can load it up on a tablet, or you can load it up on just anything, and it's going to load properly. It's going to load correctly, and it's going to properly function because the site itself is designed in such a way, as you can see here, it'll go and it'll size itself down responsibly to work just fine, for desktops and other devices. So this is a properly constructed site. There's another properly constructed site, and this is called Junction. This is just an example site. It's up in the Netherlands, but it's another site that's been properly constructed. What makes this site properly constructed? Anybody want to throw in chat and just type in there and tell me why you think this site's properly constructed versus the other sites, Arngren and Ling's cars? Because you can see pretty straightforward why. There's some things that just stand and jump right out at me. When I look at this, I see proper navigation. I can easily not only read the navigation, but I can browse it and I can search it. Right? I can see that's a modern feature. That means the site has a database behind it. It means it's properly constructed. I go down the site, graphics load up, everything's loading properly, menus chasing me down the site to the right, right? I can go through this thing. The logo is properly sized down up there. Everything seems to be working correctly. And then when I check this on my smartphone, it's correct there as well. So let's go to a real world scenario. Let's say that I had one of these as my prospect, right? Let's say that Arngren was a prospect of mine, and let's say that Annika Bioscience was as well, right? If these two were my prospect, how am I going to handle the two of these differently? And what am I going to handle totally differently between them? Well, first thing I'm going to do is when I look at Arngren, I'm going to say, okay, you have an internet-based business, but your website's so bad that if I push lots of people to it, I'm basically smearing your reputation. I'm basically putting you in a situation where the more we disseminate this terrible, awful, ugly, repugnant mess, the worse off you're probably going to be. The first thing I need to do for you, Arngren, is I have to fix your website. Therefore, we're going to work on your site, then we're going to talk SEO. So the first thing we're going to talk about with Arngren is not going to be an SEO campaign. The first thing Arngren gets discussed is website and how we can properly deconstruct what we've got here and put something back together again that's going to make sense. And of course, a quote like this for a big e-com site, this is going to be a custom quote. You're going to have to run something like this by support. This is something, of course, you'll have to submit for, but it's something that when you get a valid quote, you have a prospect like this and you start to get into the sales arena, you're not just acting like a mindless sell bot. You're going in there with a mentality that, look, I'm a consultant. This client has no business promoting this website when we're in a complete mess of a situation with it. When it's so screwed up, it needs to be completely rebuilt from the ground up. That's the job I tackle first. Now, if my client were Annika Bioscience, if this was my client and I look at their site and I say, okay, the site's built correctly. It's mobile, it's responsive. It's really nothing embarrassing. There's nothing wrong here. Just needs traffic, right? You need to be promoted. So with them, we're going to say, okay, your website's great. We're not going to talk website. I'm not going to waste my time. They've obviously spent money in recent time period to have the site built. Maybe it's not perfect, right? A lot of sites are out there that are not perfect. I can always find fault if I dig into sites. Any and all sites have minor level code bugs and issues, but the overall site here is not an embarrassment. It's not doing any damage to this brand. So we need to promote it. So we're going to talk SEO exclusively. And this is a very important thing, just to be able to look at a site and in 5 seconds just go, hey, okay, this is a responsive website. Okay, this thing works. All right. So since I know it's responsive and I know it's been built in recent times, I know that I'm not going to bother pushing a new site build on these people. I'm going to talk to them about SEO. Make sense, guys? Great. Well, let me go back to the presentation because I've got some other stuff. Actually, you know what I'm going to go over with you guys? Something else, something very important I want to go over, but I want to go over that slide first. I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about SEO and the application of that service, because this is a very, very important point, a very important part of this whole process is, how do I apply SEO? A lot of people ask that question. They think of it, and that's kind of what we just talked about. So that's what I'm really getting at, guys, is the application of the service itself. When it's one thing to have the theory of, okay, well, I'm going to go sell people search engine optimization. It's another thing to say, well, when does it work for their circumstance versus when do I sell them a website or when do I sell them something completely different? You have to know, and the way you're going to know is you're going to analyze the situation. Now, I had to do a lot of thinking when I produced this little presentation this evening, because the truth is, guys, I can go into this really deep or we can go on the surface. We can go either way. I could spend hours with you guys going through the minutia of, consulting with clients, right? Dealing with clients, going over business situations, circumstances, and maybe some of that stuff may be necessary. We may want to do more of that in the future. And I really want to do some role playing. We've got some new computers here at Rocket Driver Studios. We've got a whole bunch of new stuff coming in, all new Macs, all new everything for doing just that. Okay, so that's coming soon. But for right now, it's very important that you guys understand just the broad implications of how you should be consulting with people. You understand services inside out and backwards if you're inside the systems that we have in place for you, right? You can go in there and you know all of your bottom line prices, our recommended prices, the quote process, you understand, the training that you're getting, the training for your salespeople, you understand all this stuff. The end client doesn't understand any of it, right? So from their perspective, they're just moseying along through business and through life, and up you show, telling them they've got a problem. And the problem that you're telling them needs to be evidence-based, of course, because you have to be able to win that argument and show they indeed do have a problem. And that problem is the most preeminent of all the problems they've got. And so much so that they hopefully buy it from you, right? They buy a solution to that problem. So when it comes to SEO, the application of it is really about going ahead and, number one, getting somebody's attention, right? You're talking to a business owner. They might not know they have a problem at all. Getting their attention, showing them what their competitors are doing, showing them what you can do, and then talking to them about the various options that exist, and ultimately ending in a demonstration with a proposal and a close. And it's a pretty straightforward process, right? You have your competitor online analysis, which I consider to be step one for me of any SEO sales processes. I'm going to talk to you at your business, or I'm going to talk to Joe at his, or Janie at hers, or whoever. I'm going to talk to them about their competitors relative to their business online and in relation to search. So I'm going to have a discussion with them about how, okay, right now, you're in position X or Y or Z, and your competitors are in position X, Y, or Z as well, and they're getting ahead of you, and this is how we're going to compete, and this is how we're going to win. And I'm going to go into the whole discussion about online real estate. I'm going to talk to them about setting themselves up online, getting themselves established, building their website up, doing whatever they have to do, whatever the plan is for them that makes sense for them. That's what I'm going to have a discussion with them about. Now, when we talk about competitor online analysis, this is a very, very, very straightforward thing to go through. Okay, this is not like, oh my God, I have to do so much complicated consulting and trigonometry in my head and algebraic and quadratic equations. And no, none of that. None of it. Guys, I'm telling you, there's absolutely almost zero complexity to this when it comes to doing competitor analysis and doing some research to have a keyword, to have a discussion about keywords with a prospect. And I'm going to show you right now exactly how I do it. Really, really simple, guys. You should be seeing my screen right now, right? You guys can see this up here, the keyword planner tool. Just grabbed a random Gmail account, pop in here, and let's go in. I type in Seattle taxi cab, right? I hit get results. Boom. What's going to come up here? And why is this important? Every single one of you ought to have your account set up, your free account with Google AdWords, their keyword planner tool. It's an incredibly, incredibly beneficial tool for having an informed discussion with any given business in any given market about their given industry, right? It's just a very, very, very helpful tool. And that's why I want to show this to you, because what you can do is, let's say that I'm talking to, average, I don't know, whatever the business is. You guys can throw a business out there. Could be a doctor, lawyer, could be a mechanic, could be a electrician, it could be anybody. The point is, they're local to my town or my city or wherever, my region. When I want to have a discussion with them about search engine optimization, we can either have one of two discussions. One that's an informed discussion where we're talking about real keywords and intelligent conversation about things that are real, right? Like a tangible, substantive conversation about, hey, your competitors are ranking for taxi cab Seattle, for example. You're not. So they're getting the phone calls. Are you comfortable with that? You can throw that out there, right? Have a real discussion. Or we can get into a synthetic discussion about hypothetical keywords and hypothetical this. I don't like hypothetical in sales because it's not personal. Generally speaking, you're going to sell much more effectively the more you personalize and tailor your presentation to your audience, and the more you make your messaging personalized to their business. So when you're talking to a business owner and you're talking about them potentially going out of business or being hurt tremendously by their poor rankings, right, which is leading to less phone calls or foot traffic or whatever it might be, you want to make sure that you're standing on some damn solid ground with making any assertions like that. So what I like to do is just run everything through Google Ads, right? Keyword planner tool. So if I'm going to have a conversation and I'm talking to a taxi company in Seattle, well, I'm going to go and look up Seattle taxi cab, and I'm going to look at keywords and see, okay, how are these keywords performing? Are there a lot of monthly searches? What's the competition like? Now, this competition here, of course, this is for Google AdWords, so this does not translate directly across for SEO per se, but it is relevant to that discussion. There is relevance. Search phrase is a search phrase. And if I go and I take Seattle taxi cab and I go and I dump this keyword up into search and I look it up and I see that they're in position 5 for that keyword, and then the other taxi company, it's a main competitor, is in position 2 or 3. Well, now I know that their competitor and them are fighting over a keyword, and it could be important to both of them. So it could be important to me closing a campaign. It's certainly going to be important when I have a discussion with that prospect. So I'm going to go over lots of different keywords. I'm going to grab, 2 or 3 phrases, and I'm going to look up the competitor, go over to Google, look them up, check out what's going on with that business online. What keywords are they ranking for? Check out what keywords my business that I'm going to meet with is ranking for. Then have my discussion. It's going to be an informed discussion because we're going to be able to talk about how keywords are impacting you. And one of the things, the concepts that you kind of have to get past, and it's important in relation to this, is the whole concept of digital real estate, right? And you've heard me mention it a couple times this evening because it's an important, kind of point to bring up to you guys, is that a lot of business owners don't understand the difference between pay-per-click and like search engine optimization. And it's kind of like this. This is the easy analogy that I always use, which is that when you pay-per-click, when you throw $1,000 a month, $2,000 a month, whatever it is, 5,000, 10,000, whatever the figure is, when you throw that at AdWords, you're basically paying to rent space behind that keyword position, right? You're paying, it's like jet fuel, burns real fast, real hot, real quick, and it's gone, it's gone. So it's not permanent. It's like renting, right? When you pay for a PPC campaign, when you pay for an SEO campaign, it's like owning. Your bill every month is like a mortgage. At the end of the day, all the benefits, all the links, all the content, everything that's getting built and constructed is all being built and constructed, and it's going upline, and it's going upline building a permanent edifice to that business, right? That business that's online, they're going to have that stuff online about them for years and years and years. So it's almost like they own that real estate. That's why running an SEO campaign is so crucial, to not just run it correctly, but to run them for, a good, solid, sound duration of time. Which brings me to another point that you guys need to understand. When you're going and you're selling these SEO campaigns, one area that you can have problems with, some people, I don't know, they're not mentally used to it, is locking people into contracts, right? It does no good to anybody, not to the business, not to you, not to us, to nobody, to run a campaign for a month. Nobody. No SEO benefit, just nothing. It's like, working for a month on a house. There's no roof on it. It's just going to get wet and rot away, right? There's no point in it. We have to get an edifice constructed for that business. We have to do on-page optimization. We have to get, all the keywords selected. We have to go through the process of running that campaign for some length of time to see benefits begin to really accrue. That's why we encourage you guys so strongly. When you have discussions, when you go through the process, when you're selling people SEO, you're talking about a long-term relationship. You're not talking about, a short-term 6-month commitment. I mean, you are. 6 months is a standard contract length, but you're talking about the benefits taking months to really, really manifest. But once they do, and we start to stomp competitors and a campaign runs and it continues to run, boy, it's amazing. It really is something to see, because what happens after a while is you wind up with an enormous amount of distance between the business that's running the campaign and the businesses that are not. That's really important to understand. And this is stuff that deals with consulting as well. The whole topic, you guys need to realize you're in business for yourself. Each and every one of you are running a sovereign entity, your own business. You're free to make deals. You're free to sell however you see fit. You're in charge of your own time, your own self. You guys can do stuff that, when it comes to selling this, it's incredible. Really is incredible what you can do when it comes to the marketplace and it comes to making sales with these services, because you're free to combine services any which way you see fit. You're free to sell any situation, and you have at your disposal a set of tools to take on almost any problem that you could conceivably face online. And if there's something you face with a client where, you don't know what to do, you've got us. We're right here. We're not going anywhere. And that's our job. Our job is to be here to help you guys. Some of the most important things that I think I can say to you guys during this time period is just that I've been through this 100% before. And in a way, it was even worse, because our industry went through some major, major upheaval, around like 07, 08, 09, that time period. And I know a lot of you guys are thinking of COVID-19, and you're thinking of the virus that's out there, Wuhan virus, whatever you want to call it. And, you're looking around at the economy and you're seeing businesses that, you're thinking, well, they're probably not in shape to buy it. And it's the opposite. Businesses now have to compete online more than ever. And as much as, there's some brick and mortar businesses that were frankly doomed anyway, that we saw very little activity out of for a long time. They're out there. There are some that we're just hanging in there. There are literally millions and millions and millions more that not only are going to get stimulus and be just fine, but at the same time are going to probably look to shred old contract with, your bespoke sort of, boutique agencies that are charging them, the tens of thousands per month, that are now going to be freed up for our market space to go and grab, just like we did back then. Because you got to remember, guys, there's a huge market of agencies out there, frankly, that are selling the same services for ridiculously higher price tags. You guys have the ability to be not only very much so service exclusive, but you can also be price competitive and technologically innovative. So you guys have 3 things at your back that other people don't have. If you're running your own agency where you're doing all the work yourself and everything going out the door is dependent upon your back, Well, you just entered some really tough times because you're in a situation where you can forget about scaling. You can forget about, expansion of your bottom line, because if you're having to charge $10,000 minimum per client, now your metrics haven't changed, and yet the marketplace has, and you're in a real tough spot. For us, not the case at all. For all of us, we're working with wholesale rates that are low. We're working with a market space that's really headed in an automation sort of direction anyway. This will accelerate that. No doubt, when relief money comes through, you're going to see an uptick in sales. I think to businesses that are going to be looking to rapidly retool online, we're seeing that even right now, particularly around the country in different places. There's different things panning out, but a lot of your more conventional business are going the route of, selling online, e-commerce, catering, that kind of thing, anything they can to keep going. And we're right there to help them out. So we're in a good situation. Sonia, you're very, very welcome. I wish everybody out there, I think you guys are going to find that as these weeks progress, this thing is going to just melt away for us, as we have so much, guys, going in our favor in terms of our cost on our services, the innovation. We have so many things we've brought out that nobody else has for any amount of money. You're not going to find omni-channel out there, even in the same stratosphere, for any amount of money. It's just a very rare service that we've got. Web development, solid as a rock. As you guys know, as we've sold thousands and thousands and thousands of sites together through the years. Those people will all keep paying. That'll keep going because site sales are always strong. And especially when we enter, I don't know why, to be honest with you. I've witnessed this 3 times in my career, in the last about 25 years, where into a downturn, we see everybody goes to the web. And we saw this around 2000. I've seen this around 2008, 9, big time in 10. And then, we've been in this business the whole time, and being in this industry, I saw it firsthand, the massive sales upticks that come from these sort of economic shocks. And I can tell you, it's going to happen again. That's my opinion anyway. For the businesses that feel like they can't afford to do anything right now with the virus, how would you rebut that? I would rebut that very straightforwardly by saying you can't afford not to. Everybody else is arming up and going online. If you run virtually any kind of business, like say it's restaurants, like every restaurant that's within, I don't know, a 60-block radius of me, every single one to the restaurant are using their online ordering systems, and they're all switching over to catering. They're all switching over to pickup, every single one of them. So it's either go out of business, okay, which there's nothing, no one can do anything about that, which will just cause consolidation, or it's stay in business and adapt and define yourself differently. And you're going to have to do that. What we're going to see a lot more of is a lot of businesses that are not going to go bankrupt because we have a massive bailout on the way, right? And keep that in mind. It's on the way. It's not like 6 months away or 2 months away. It's like in the mail and on the way. And you're going to see a lot of them rapidly change to be much more online focused. And we saw this happen before. And I think it's been really, guys, even if there wasn't a COVID-19, we've been headed in a direction, and we've seen this and we've discussed it, God, thousands of times internally here. We've seen for years a direction of automation where, you're just seeing retail die. It's been going on for a long time, and you've seen conventional media die, retail die, a lot of businesses, models that used to be really strong, getting weaker and weaker through time. I don't see any kind of massive, just drop where everything is going to just collapse, because fortunately for us, we have a pretty strong system in place that's keeping everything going in terms of the SWIFT system and money moving around and everything like that, and credit markets staying open. So we don't have like massive collapse, imminent demise stuff going on. We do see a lot of businesses that are changing direction. I think you're going to see competition online just skyrocket. Next year or so, if history is any predictor, we're going to see huge competition online, which really helps us, because when we see these businesses really start to compete, it leads to multiple sales. It leads to huge upticks in sales, and it leads to a lot more, I would say, more dynamic type of deals, because as you see business owners profit online and rely more upon these tools, they're more apt to invest. And whenever they invest, it's good for us. What is the standard time frame for contracts for new services? Rich, that depends. How fast can you move? How fast can you move? Because If you were to go and you were to, get a quote from us, let's say tomorrow morning at breakfast, we can have that deal processed and out the door in terms of not saying 100%. Obviously, these things take time, but we can have everything done on our end same day. All right. Meaning that we can get you back, your proposal. You can get that thing signed. You can deal with us real quick. How fast you deal with your client. Now, that's a different story. When you're engaging with your clients, you really want to take the time to get your mechanics down really smooth, right? You guys have, just about all of you, ladies and gentlemen, you have all been salespeople before at some point in your career, right? Just about everybody on this call. I know I have many times, and in hardcore one call close sales. And when I sold, I'll tell you, my first deals, I fumbled a little bit, right? Contracts, you're going through this contract. It's 3-part, ripping it apart, the carbon copy and all that. And by deal 3 or something, you could fill that thing out with, you could be blinded in both eyes and filling it out with a magic marker, and it's flawless. So you get that process down. And if you don't get it down, well, you've got one butt to kick, and it's not mine, because I warned you. You need to get that process down. You need to be able to go through your contracts and understand all the different things. And remember this too, Rich. It's not just about going through the contract. When you go through a contract as a consultant and the owner of a company, you are making the deal, right? You're making the deal. You're not brokering the deal. You're making it. So if you go in and you say, well, I'm going to start high, I'm going to deal with this prospect differently. I'm going to deal with this doctor by telling him that our price starts at, whatever, right? Say you're selling a website to a doctor, and you might want to have a target price of between $5,500 and $7,500 as an example. You might go in and start your negotiations at $10,000 and work down from there, right? You're usually not going to work up. So your price drop built right into your contract. So you got to know where everything is. And I'm saying mentally, psychologically, being prepared to sit down. There's my doctor. There's my prospect. Okay, doc, here's what I'm going to do for you. The retail on this is $1,255. I'm going to knock off $250 because of whatever, or $2,500. And, you're going to sit there and knock all of your things off and structure the deal, right? So that's something you've got to really get down to where it becomes like an organic process, right? Like if I was going to come and buy something from you that you knew very well, you're going to organically know where the pieces lie, what matters and what doesn't. And that's a very important point, because this SEO, let me send you guys a link, because there's a very important link in here that I wanted to send out to everybody, right? Which is for SEO. And what I've got here, let me just go and grab this. I'm just going to see if I can send you guys the link, which is all I'm grabbing here, is the link to the SEO roadmap, okay? And I'm just grabbing this, and it's a PDF. Send this out to everybody here, okay? This PDF outlines the roadmap, right? And this is real important too, right? Because when you open that thing up and you look at it, it's giving you a roadmap too. As much as it's there to give the end client a roadmap, it's there to give you a roadmap. You need to know what steps in what order are going to occur should this deal close, right? All these things lead to a lack of confidence and a lack of sales ultimately. If you don't know what's going to happen next, what process am I initiating? How am I going to push this deal through? How am I going to ask for the money? It becomes easy to ask for the money. It becomes second nature to close when you're confident about everything else. I found my worst times in my career in terms of selling things and making sales happen and closing were when I wasn't confident, when I didn't know my product. And that's why you hear me just slam it into your head over and over again. Study the product. Study it until you're so bored with it that you know it so well that you want to curse my name. That's when, you're going to start selling a lot. Let's see here. Rich has a question. What I mean is the term for a contract, 6 months, 12 months. Rich, I like 6-month contracts. I love yearly, but I love 6-month contracts. And Rich has a good question here. He's asking about contracting like new services. How long before you go back, right? Rich, you're asking and upsell them something, right? I'm sorry I didn't read that sooner. I probably should have. You've got a good point there. I like 6-month contracts for SEO for just about everything. And I'll tell you why. Some people say, well, Jake, wouldn't you rather have a person locked in for 12? And I say, yeah, absolutely. Sure, I would. But remember this, there's two things about that 12-month contract commitment. Number one, it's harder to get them to rope in, right? To close up on 12 whole months, right? You're going to, because now they're thinking, well, that's 12 payments I have to make to this guy, right? Okay, so it's longer. So they're going to be less apt to pull the trigger on it. Number two, it's longer for me too, not just for them. They owe me for 12 months at a certain rate, at a predefined rate. Good luck going back and upselling them during those 12 months. At the end, yeah. But during that time, no. It's going to be just too difficult. So what I like to do is I like to lock them in for 6 and then go back after 6 and show them, hey, I earned you money for 6 months, right? You're making money every month because of the work I did. I don't cost you a penny. I make you money. I'm a water walker. Where's your pond, right? I'm going to go back there and I'm going to get this person excited about buying more services from me. I'm going to go back in there and I'm going to hit him for other stuff. I'm going to hit him for maybe reputation management. Maybe I'm going to double the size of the SEO campaign. Maybe I'm going to add in some omni-channel. Whatever the point is, that I'm coming back after 6 months, not after a year. Now, after that initial 6-month contract, if somebody signs a 6-month contract with me and I go back and upsell them another contract at that point in time, that one might be a year. And it stands a much higher chance of being a year because it's going to be a larger contract, number one. Number two, they've had all that time to build trust with me, and they know that I'm going to do what I say I'm going to do. I'm not there to, take money from their pocket and leave them in a situation where they're not earning whatever kind of ROI we've discussed with them. And that's another good point, guys. When it comes to ROI on these services, understand this. Major thing that you need to emphasize. I like to emphasize ROI in a broadest possible sense, at least initially, before I have a picture. A lot of times when you go in to deal with a client, they want to hear, they're wanting you to say, oh, this is going to give you 1,000% ROI or whatever. Can't do any of that. Cannot make any false claims like that because we don't know what the ROI is. I've had clients where, we have a good idea based on competition and we do dig into the data, right? So we're going to deliver the truth. But at the point of the sale, right, when I'm just starting a conversation, I'm never going to be one of those people that starts off with, oh, you're going to make millions with me. No, I'm telling them we're doing ROI centric or focused work. We're trying to deliver a return. Everything we do is based upon an ROI, but I can't promise you what that figure is going to be. That's insanity. A supercomputer can't predict a hurricane 6 days out. How in the hell am I supposed to predict what's going to happen in 6 months at your business? Can't happen, right? ROI depends just as much on them as it does on you. Don't put yourself in the situation of being, the confident, overly confident water walker if you're not. Right? In other words, you start up these conversations with them. You talk about ROI, but you're careful. You couch your words. You don't promise anything you can't deliver. Very important point, because with SEO and services like it, you're going to be going back to these people a lot, and you're going back to upsell. So you don't have to take them for all they're worth right up front. In fact, it's not smart business. Smart businesses, you take a bite of the pie, get out of there, right? Do a good job for them, deliver them ROI, deliver them more than you promise, and you'll have a client for years and years to come. That's how to handle it. Very important, though, how clients are handled. Really crucial. Let's see here. I have time for one more question. And Sonia, you've got it. Let's see here. When I set up a call with your SEO salesperson with a prospect, what are some of the topics that the salesperson covers with the prospect? The reason I am asking is I want to do the formal proposal ahead of time and be prepared as much as I can. All good points, Sonia. It's this straightforward. You're bringing on that salesperson. You're going to get in touch with our support department, right? And this is all stipulated. It's all laid out inside the portal there in the SEO section. You're going to get in touch with, our support department. We're going to get in touch and we're going to set up this conference call, right? You're going to go through, you're going to set up, the call between yourself and the prospect. And we're going to dispatch a closer and they're going to get on. Now that person gets on. What they're going to be talking about pretty much topically is going to be a technical discussion surrounding the website, the recommended keywords, the recommended hours that need to be spent to get them an ROI. In other words, if you were to put let's just say, and this is something I misspoke before upon, and that was that, like, let's say you put on sales support and you get them on the call and you're trying to get them to recommend a very small package, right? Let's say it's a 10-hour package or something. And then you're trying to turn around and sell that for a huge profit. Well, it's not going to deliver an ROI to the end client, because if the packages, there has to be a balance between what they get sold and what their needs are, right? We're trying to balance that. And that's what that SEO sales support person is doing. They're looking at the situation of the business, the keywords, the industry, the location, and they're looking at how many hours do they recommend to get it effect. Now, it's up to you to bill against those hours, right? To close after the call is finished. But they're going to get that person to buy into or to be closed upon the idea that they need X amount of hours of work. So they're talking technical solution. You're talking pricing and going over that hard ground and closing the deal. Now, they're helping you all along the way. This dramatically lightens the load. But in the end, you have to ultimately be prepared to propose and to close, because it's your business dealing with that end customer, right? We're not billing them, and we're not proposing a number because we're not the ones that are, billing them. So we're not going to throw a figure out and say, okay, it's going to cost you $3,500 or, whatever it is. We're going to tell them you need this many hours. This needs to get done this way. Otherwise, it's a wash. And then you go and you close against that. It's pretty straightforward. Anyhow, guys, it was great speaking to all of you this evening. I hope I helped some of you out. I look forward to next week. If you, as always, guys, you can always email me, jake@rocketdriver.com. I do respond to emails. I look forward to hearing from some of you. I hope all of you are well, and I wish you all the best of health, and I'll see you guys next week. All right, everyone. Have a good one, guys. Bye, everybody. Good night.